DOMG, 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 DOMG.
Hello and welcome back to a very special episode of the Games Gone By podcast. I'm your special guest host, Austin, gaming expert and enthusiast, and I'm here with Jeff. Hey Jeff, how you doing?
Hey Austin, I'm great. I'm really enjoying this fresh mountain air.
You might be wondering, where is Adam? Well, we surprised him with this very special live episode at his bachelor party with all of his close friends. Can we get a cheer from the crowd?
Yeah. What's up?
Adam, how have you been enjoying your weekend so far?
It's been fantastic. I've been having such a great time. This is quite a surprise. I truly did not expect this at all, but we are rolling with it. So thank you everyone for being here.
I just know how much you love surprises, Adam. I just know you're the...
I literally tell my fiance like not to get me gifts because I'm just like, I hate surprises so much. But this is fun. I'm looking forward to this. So thank you guys. Thank you guys.
So now that we've gotten past this being the worst moment of his life, thank you, Andy, for this, for the idea and bringing this all together. Andy's apparently trying out to be our producer right now with a full audio equipment setup.
This will probably be the best I ever sound.
Yeah.
Professional mics, professional recording. I mean, this is great.
You actually have the cheapest microphone.
Yes, and it will probably still be better than what I am currently using.
All right. So we've been having a good time this weekend out here in Blueridge, Georgia, and the thing we have played by far the most is Rock Band. So we're here to start the conversation off with a reflection on Rock Band, Guitar Hero, and the fun rhythm games of the 2000s. Adam, do you remember the first time you played a Guitar Hero game?
I want to say it was like, Chris, did you have it at one point before you, or like when you came down from South Carolina to visit after you had moved?
Yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah, because I think you had the first two. So it probably would have been at like my friend Jeff, a different Jeff's house in his basement. Chris had brought it over. We were playing that shit. It was really cool. I was really bad at it at first, especially in the first game, because it's like the hammer-ons and pull-offs were way harder in the first game. Like by the third game, it practically does it if you just think about it. But in the first one, it was really hard to pull off. So yeah, I think, the third one hadn't come out by the time I had first started playing it, I think.
Yeah, the third one was a bit later, probably 2007 or so. Would you say that you were a person with rhythm before you played these games?
Dude, absolutely not. Like, I can remember going to, like, the 8th grade dance or whatever.
God.
And like, girls I danced with to be like, dude, like, can you not just sway side to side on the beat? It's like, I didn't understand. I was never in the band, like the 5th grade band or whatever.
Oh, right.
I truly was, like, the least musical person I knew. So, no, before...
And then we put a plastic guitar controller in his hands,
And magic happens.
The world changed.
Now Adam plays guitar, so it's like we've really evolved.
So this game first came out in 2005 to huge demand. Like it was one of the most innovative things to do on the controller, right? It's the only controller I'll still use today. But the first game is mostly about you picking like classic nostalgic tracks and trying to hit the rhythm on the beat, right? You've got 5 buttons. You're trying to figure out strum. It's for all those nerds who can't find a beat. So it's kind of...
And they were all covers in the first 2 games, remember?
Every one of them?
Oh, really?
Yeah. There might have been like a couple songs where they were able to use it like obscure songs, but they hadn't really gotten in like contact with the record labels to sort all that out, right? So in the first 2 games, it was always some Harmonix-led band, or the band they hired to record all those.
Interesting. I don't remember that, because my first experience with Guitar Hero was Guitar Hero 2. Like, I played Guitar Hero 2. I never played the first one.
I think 2, had still a lot of covers, because that was the one with Killing in the Name, right? Which was like...
Sure.
It was not a good impression of...
I think Sweet Child of Mine was on there, too. I don't remember if that was a cover or not.
I think a lot of 2 and 1 were covers, if I recall.
Okay. I really hit my stride with Rock Band.
Yeah.
Rock Band is when I started to get into the rhythm game genre.
I think that's what Rock Band's one of its selling points was we have the actual songs.
Now that Guitar Hero has proven this business model to be feasible, we went and bought all of the IP so we can give you the actual licenses to the songs. So that's probably not the only reason Rock Band made a splash. So Guitar Hero suddenly became the party game that was at all of the places I was hanging out at in 2006. And then Rock Band has to disrupt that somehow, and they did that by naturally progressing to what? Adding the rest of the band. Was that... Did either of you guys actually purchase Rock Band, or did you stick to just Guitar Hero?
I never had Rock Band.
I bought I've owned every Rock Band. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've owned every single Rock Band.
We had friends that had it. I can't remember who had it. But
I definitely liked Rock Band more. I like the feel of the guitar better because I had both the Rock Band and the Guitar Hero guitar. I prefer the Rock Band guitar. I love playing the drums.
just another one of Austin's terrible opinions.
Yes, I know. You hate my take on everything. It's fine. The Rock Band guitar is better. It looks better. It feels better. But I think the drums really carried Rock Band through to a different level.
Yeah.
The multiplayer experience that it created was just such a more like, you could get a whole crew together. I mean, we've had 4 people playing every time we've played Rock Band, pretty much. We've had somebody on mic, a guitarist, a bassist, and a drummer all weekend, and it's just been so much fun.
It's really nice how the difficulties can all be adjusted individually. So we've had expert and easy on every track, right?
Yes.
So everyone can just drop in and have fun with it. It's been great.
The vocals are so forgiving. All you have to do is like make noise on the easy vocals, and it's great. You can fucking belt your heart out. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you really want to lean into it. It makes it so much more fun though when you just lean in and give it your all. Like we actually literally bought a song from the Rock Band store last night. We bought 2 songs.
Oh yeah,
From the Rock Band store that's still we bought Carly Rae Jepsen's iconic "Call Me Maybe."
Oh my
Excellent.
And Earth, Wind and Fire September.
Shout out to Chris. Found
Let's
that
go,
one.
Chris.
Wait, who sang "Call Me Maybe"?
I did.
Yeah, Austin said.
Okay, that tracks.
And
That
I
tracks.
killed it. Thank you.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
Encore.
Oh, not right now. No. I need the notes. I need to match the notes. Come on now.
Yeah. Okay. So the genre was hugely popular. Adding the extra instruments, obviously a good innovation. But this was all in the 2000s. So is Rock Band the best party game of the 2000s, or are there better things we could be playing?
I mean, so I'm sure some people here would talk about like things we've played this weekend, right? Smash Brothers, Mario Kart. I think all those are fair things. I would agree that I enjoyed Rock Band the most of those things people played, but it would be a different crowd too, right? Like if you we could see Rock Band at an actual party with like girls and stuff. you know what I mean?
Yeah, Smash Bros. Girls don't play Smash Bros. You heard it here first.
You understand? Like, I can remember being my friend Asa. He used to throw these parties at his house when his dad was out of town. We had a bunch of people over, and then I had some friends behind me on the couch just like talking shit on my behalf to this dude I'm playing in Guitar Hero, like, Adam's gonna kick your ass, man. It was just silly, but it was a lot of fun. And people would always gather around, want to play the drums, want to sing. Like, it was an accessible thing that people, I think, appreciated being in that atmosphere. It didn't have to be a nerd only kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I would say as well. I think it's the thing that lets everybody of all gaming experience levels come together and play. Because even, if you throw the guitar on easy, you can probably get through a song. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not that hard on the lower difficulties, and it lets you all kind of enjoy it, even if you don't play video games. If you pick up Smash and try and play Smash without ever having played a video game, that's not gonna maybe go as well.
Yeah, and shout out to, so what were we playing last night? We played Paramore's Still Into You. Mm-hmm. Andy was on vocals. That was killer. That was awesome. Brett, my soon-to-be brother-in-law, I can't remember, what were you singing? It was the Gin Blossoms.
It was Gin Blossoms, yeah.
Follow you down.
Yes, Follow You Down.
It was so good.
That was awesome. You kicked ass on that.
Brett killed
Yeah,
it.
there's been a couple moments there where truly, maybe it was a little bit of the beer this weekend, but for a moment, I mean, you really felt like we were in a rock band. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's all about that power stance, right?
Yeah.
That being said, we just came off a Mario Kart tournament, and I had a lot of fun with that too. I just want to say.
Shout out
it might help that I came in runner-up, just saying.
Shout out to Chris Story, victory champion of everything.
Hey,
over
round
here.
of applause for Chris.
Hey.
We did the pool tournament and the Mario Kart tournament, and then we had a beer pong face-off to decide.
The most bachelor party activities that you could probably think of.
Absolutely. All right, so after picking up these plastic guitars, do we know anyone who actually learned to play guitar because of Guitar Hero?
Yeah, so I guess that's not like the way to describe it, but Andy was just mentioning last night that he was like, yeah, Guitar Hero is what made me interested in learning guitar. So, yeah, and I think like at the end of the day, that's kind of how I am later. It happened 15 years later for me, but it was like I just enjoyed Guitar Hero so much that when COVID hit, I was like, screw it. I'm gonna like buy a cheap guitar, and that's like, Andy, give me lessons online, and just learning a few things about it. There's I always say like I learned one scale and 3 chords, and yet you can do so much with that, and it's just so much fun to mess around with. And I think if it wasn't for Guitar Hero, I might not have just never had interest in it. Because it's, it really does kind of give you, especially if you don't know how guitar works, you are totally convinced you're doing something similar to it. Like, It feels so good, especially on Expert, when you hit all those notes and the little hammer-ons. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, like, it doesn't teach you how to play guitar, but I have to assume a lot of people got into wanting to play guitar because of Guitar Hero.
I'd totally forgotten about Rocksmith, which was the
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
I think Adam played a ton of Rocksmith, actually.
Wait, did you? Okay.
Well, maybe not a
When I was
ton,
first
but-
learning it, I tried, but, like, I didn't find it all that, because until you put it on the harder difficulties, it's not really that reminiscent of the actual stuff.
Because Rocksmith's bit was to put an actual guitar, hook that up to your PC, and then rather than just clicking buttons and playing against a rhythm track, you would play a guitar.
Yeah, and it
to play the
feels
game.
really weird to be playing real notes that aren't the real notes, if you know what I mean. So I didn't care for that too much there. That's actually how I learned that Ramones, because that's a really easy song. So I could play that on 100% difficulty, the actual song.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the stuff on there, I'd have to turn down, and then it's different. And I was like, that's weird.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Now, you can just slow down the real version, which was a thing to do to learn songs, right?
So with Rocksmith, you didn't feel like playing the easier versions of the songs was like building up to Expert. It was just...
And maybe if I had stuck with it and really built up like that, it could have been good. But I don't know. I just felt playing the half difficulty was just, it felt weird because you're not playing the real song, but you're playing on a real guitar. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're pretending. You're having fun.
Contrary to that, though, and I'm not a drummer by any means, but I have a friend of mine who very much started playing Rock Band drums, started on easy, medium, like struggled with it at first, started to find the rhythm, and then bought an electronic drum kit, and then started playing real drums and like covering songs and stuff on YouTube by that natural progression of like Rock Band drums to, an actual drum kit. I think that maybe is a track that would be more, because it's pretty much the same thing. Right?
The Rock Band drums look like an electric drum kit,
Right,
with just a couple less drum pedals.
Right.
Or
And
things.
you can even buy, cymbals like Rock Band. You could attach cymbals to Rock Band and have cymbals.
Okay.
So you would have the same number of notes, but like it would replace the
green thing.
right? But it would replace 2 of the pads, and you'd hit them with cymbals instead.
Okay.
So like you could almost emulate an actual drum kit that way.
Yeah, that felt a lot more analogous 1-to-1
Right.
was the actual drum set. That seemed like something, okay, maybe you would actually then go learn to play a musical instrument with, as opposed to guitar or vocals, which doesn't teach you anything, right? So,
Yeah, it really doesn't. There's probably like a 0% conversion rate.
Like, can you sing Rock Band? Okay, you probably still can't sing in real life.
Yeah.
Because I definitely cannot sing. I did okay last night. The real question is, did anybody learn how to DJ by playing DJ Hero?
Okay. So I had to call this out. I feel like the genre had clearly peaked by the time they released DJ Hero, which was straight up another plastic controller like the size of a MacBook with a turntable on top, right? Yeah, so same thing, rhythm track game, and you had to scratch. And you had to scratch
That's
in
so
just
crazy. Is that a thing someone beat Dark Souls with?
I'm sure.
Almost certainly. Check the show notes for someone. Yeah.
Everybody's beaten somebody's beaten Dark Souls with every single plastic
With the Donkey
controller.
Konga.
Yeah. Every plastic controller that exists, somebody's used it to beat Dark Souls.
Okay, so this is an old genre and an old group of games, right? Like we're literally buying songs on a store that I was shocked was still online last night. Epic Games is making a weak attempt to bring it back, though, because I guess they now own the entire Harmonix and Rock Band
I
IP.
believe so.
Okay, and they've created Fortnite Festival, which sounds incredible, right? Y'all, just an amazing initiative from Epic here. Austin, what do I need to know about Fortnite Festival?
Well, as we know, Jeff is the resident Fortnite expert, and I've played a little bit of Fortnite Festival. And it's not great.
It's bad. It is not.
It is not great.
Exactly.
It is the same idea, right? It's got the 5 buttons. You can hook up a guitar to it. Like any of your plastic Rock Band guitar controllers will work. I've hooked up my Xbox guitar. I've tried to play it. The problem is there's no strumming. because I guess they couldn't figure out the technology to make strumming work, so you just hit the buttons.
It's technology from 2005.
It feels really weird to try and play without strumming. And then you can try and strum, but that'll it just doesn't work right. The tracks don't feel as well designed. And you can buy stuff. Like, you can buy songs just like you can buy them on the Rock Band store. But they have, a rotating list of tracks. So I think, there was, a Billie Eilish period where, she had 4 songs on there. And then they cycled her out and put some new people on. And you could buy all those if you want them. But it just never felt quite right.
And this is why your Rock Band song collection is only going to increase in value, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because,
you can't play this game anymore.
I have 160 Rock Band songs, I think. That's a little over probably $300 in just buying Rock Band songs.
It would be interesting to know how much revenue they continue to get from these things, because, they still keep the servers up, so you have to assume people are still buying it. And like you said, there's not really been a good replacement for it that's come out. Anyone who has the desire to do what we did this weekend is probably doing exactly what we did this weekend. So, yeah.
Digging ancient controllers out of their closet and hauling them miles into the North Jordan Mountains.
You have to buy every song on Rock Band?
The base game comes
just in
with
case
songs.
this didn't pick you up, I will repeat your question. Tyler has asked.
Do you have to buy every song on Rock Band 4?
Do you have to buy every song on Rock Band 4?
No, you do not have to buy every song. It comes with a base. The base game comes with 50 or 60 songs, but then you can buy whatever else you want, and that store will carry over from all the old Rock Bands. So I bought most of my songs back on Rock Band 2, and they've just carried over throughout the years because I bought them all on Xbox. And so that's how I've built my catalog over the years. But there's thousands of tracks in Rock Band.
Is Rock Band 4 the last one they made, or did they make it?
Rock Band 4 is the last one they made.
Okay.
That is the current up-to-date version, unless one came out that I completely missed, but I don't think so.
Didn't Guitar Hero eventually do one with a full band as well?
Yes, I think World Tour was maybe the first one with a full set. I don't think Guitar Hero's full set ever caught on the same way that Rock Bands did, though.
Makes sense, because it was Guitar Hero.
Yeah, the branding was a little confusing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so wrapping up our conversation of rhythm games and party games, we have a handful of questions prepared for Adam here to draw out whatever response. And this officially begins our audience participation portion of this podcast. So get your questions ready. Y'all come up to the microphone or just shout at us. Andy's got that microphone there. I'm going to start us off with a question for Adam, though. Why is World of Warcraft such an incredible game?
So, in its current state, I don't know if I would necessarily say it's such an incredible game, but we could definitely talk about why did it have the impact it did. And part of that was just because, we did our Play Nice episode, which was the book by Jason Schreier that was kind of a chronicle of the history of Blizzard, the company that made World of Warcraft. And one of the things they talk about a lot in there is just there were so many things in MMOs at the time, and EverQuest, Ultima, all these other things, that caused a lot of friction and ultimately just prevented people from enjoying themselves at certain points in the game. And they decided to get rid of a lot of that. So that helped it catch on. And I would say the other big thing is just there was no ability to just be always online back then, right? Mm-hmm. So World of Warcraft was kind of being in an MMO and then being on your Ventrilo server that your guild is all taking donations for to host because no one has Discord yet, right? That, I think, just created a social atmosphere that allowed MMOs to flourish in a way, especially WoW, because it was just unlike anything you could do. Now anyone can hop on a call with their buddies on Discord, right, and play whatever game. But back then it was I got home from school, now me and my buddies are going to continue to hang out in Azeroth, right? And I think that those two things together just made WoW take off.
Yeah, it was the very beginning of internet communities, right? Back in the day when we didn't have quite a monolithic internet experience, and you could have your own little niche corner of it, as opposed to today where everyone scrolls TikTok,
yes, exactly.
Facebook together, or whatever the kids these do.
There are people that don't have hobbies. They just scroll social media. They go to work, they come home, they do that for 6 hours, and they go to sleep. And that's crazy. Yeah. Don't do that.
You heard it here first. Don't do that. All right. So contrary to that last question, Adam, why do all MMOs suck?
So I guess, this is Austin's question. Of course it is. Poor Austin. He tried. So during COVID, me, Austin, and Connor tried to play Final Fantasy 14, and I got kind of into it. Connor got really into it. Let's just say Austin mostly was like, "Why do these kind of games exist?" Just the entire way through.
I tried so hard. I wanted to like it so much.
It's a weird thing, right? Because it definitely it's kind of like one step removed from a tabletop game, right? So much of it is in your imagination. So much of it is in the wanting to like experience this character kind of growing through like an arduous process to reach its, you feel very connected to it for those reasons. But yeah, it does end up meaning though that a lot of the core gameplay has come down to like the Holy Trinity thing, where you have the tank, the damage, and the healers, and you kind of have to have those things. And if you don't, then you have a game like Guild Wars 2, which kind of just feels like everyone's running around spamming stuff in like a Team Fortress-esque way, which is cool, but it doesn't really feel like MMO combat. So to answer your question, why do MMOs suck? It's because everything ultimately gets fed through this filter of the Holy Trinity, the tank, damage, DPS, and that combined with we need you to keep playing this forever because you're paying $15 a month.
Yeah. So
there's the endless gear treadmill.
Right.
That
like have to find new stuff.
Is fun. So if you can enjoy it for the sake of itself, which I think a lot of people do, so they're okay with it resetting every year with the new expansion because it's the process. But for some people, it was like, no, I got the best sword in the game for Warrior, and now it's pay $50 for it to suck. and so I think it just depends on how you kind of feel about the way MMOs add more content to games, right?
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And why play MMOs these days when you could be playing Helldivers too? All right, with that, going over to the crowd, who's got a question for Adam the Batch?
Brett.
Yay.
Of course, I'd like to go back to rhythm games for just a second.
Sure.
I'd love to hear your opinions on the Nintendo DS version of Guitar Hero.
I never played that, but was that the one that you kind of had the little thing that you put in the cartridge slot and you would like...
Yes.
So I never played it.
Hand grip. That was crazy.
Yeah, and you'd strap it to your hand and you had a little pick stylus that you would strum the touch screen.
Since this is an audio podcast, Jeff has the most bewildered look on his face right now. He's like, this is a thing that existed?
I know exactly what you're talking about, and my opinion without playing it is, I guess I'm glad I didn't. but I don't know. Did you play it?
I did play it, yeah.
How did it work comparatively?
I mean, well, it's to start with, because you strap it to your hand, it only had 4 buttons.
Right.
So it was kind of like perpetual medium, except I guess it would go faster for harder modes.
Okay.
It was all right, I guess. I don't have any groundbreaking opinions.
Glowing review, 5 stars. Yeah.
Honestly, objectively, I'd probably say it sucked.
Yeah.
But I had a good time.
It is a unique idea, though. Like take this concept that people have in their living room and everything, and let's bring it down to a small scale so you can play it on the go. I don't really know if that's like a necessary thing, but it's an interesting idea.
It sounds like it was at least like competently done. So,
Yeah, it's technically it worked very well.
there you go.
I mean, glowing, absolutely glowing.
How did the song selection start? Was there just a baked-in list, or could the DS like download the?
Ooh, I think it was before the time you could do that. I think it just had the baked-in list.
I wonder if it was from other games or just their own.
My only
leftovers.
My only experience with Rock Band DS is that there was a like an arcade type. It's like an arcade pizza place in my hometown, and one of the machines that you could play, like the stacking tower game that we played this weekend.
Yeah.
Yep, that stacking tower game. There was one of the prizes in there was the DS edition of Rock Band. Like it had the DS, it had the little grip, it had everything in it. But like I could never actually get there. I could never actually win. So I never got it. But that's my only experience is seeing that in that claw machine and being like, I want that. And I never got it.
Still sounds better than DJ Hero. Okay, do we need to pause real quick? Sharim, are you heading out? Yeah. We'll cut this out.
We'll ask a question. We'll fix it. Sharim, question.
Any question you like.
What am I gonna do after this? And like this life, or honestly, man, right after this, we get even more nerdy because we might be busting out the D&D.
Let's go.
We can record that too.
I got my elf hero. Oh yes, if we record that.
Critical Role, watch out.
We become the new Critical Role. Let's go.
Watch out.
Guitar Hero DS actually got 2 sequels that had more soundtracks to it.
No way.
Guitar Hero, okay, just so the microphone picked that up. Guitar Hero DS got 2 sequels. What the fuck?
There's over 80 songs now in the Guitar Hero
Wow.
series.
That's crazy.
My question is, how do modern MMOs stack up with MMOs gone by?
That's an episode title later.
It's interesting, right? Because really, like, modern MMOs would probably basically just refer to like Final Fantasy 14, WoW, and maybe Elder Scrolls Online. You know, there's not a whole lot that have really made it through the gauntlet of WoW dominating the genre, right?
Is Old Republic still up and?
I think it might still be going. I know the Lord of the Rings Online is still going. It's been around I mean, it came out a couple years after WoW, so it's been around a long time too. A lot of them are still like, a lot of them still exist.
Right. What is actually like popular? I'm not sure. Other than Final Fantasy 14, which I know is
Pretty much WoW, FF14, and Elder Scrolls Online. There might be, I mean, maybe in like Asia there might be some other big ones, but that's pretty much all that anyone plays in the West now in large numbers. But it's interesting because, you know, stuff like Lord of the Rings Online does at least exist. Star Wars Galaxies no longer officially does. It's all private servers, right? There's games like Tabula Rasa. There's all kinds of Vanguard, I think. Saga of Heroes doesn't exist anymore.
Oh my god.
So there's all these MMOs that came, Warhammer Online, that were going to compete with WoW and just failed. But to get back to Harry's question, like the first couple of, I think the two that people think of as really starting it were like Ultima Online and EverQuest. And Ultima Online came first, but it's a little different in that it's kind of like this isometric view, and it's pretty hardcore. You had like all these regents for your spells, and there's a lot of like player versus player elements. And it's, of course, based out of the Ultima franchise, right? There were like 12 of those games.
I want to interject on that. I just think it's like it's a CRPG turned into an MMO.
Yes. So James says it's basically like a CRPG turned into an MMO. And that's true in a lot of ways because it came out of that CRPG series, Ultima. The biggest difference between the modern ones and the original ones is that the original ones were like unforgiving as fuck in a lot of ways. Corpse runs, like you died, you have to go back to your corpse as a ghost. And I think depending on the server you were on in Ultima, like if you were on a player killing one, people could just take your stuff. So if they killed you and took your stuff and you went back to your corpse, then like there you go, you have a naked man. Like that's your character now.
Yep, fuck you.
But of course you could build houses and stuff in Ultima, which was cool. And you could like protect your little player cities and stuff and form alliances. So there were ways to like make sure that dying didn't totally reset your character, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a kind of a practical sense, like it really fostered this sense of collaboration, but also like rivalries and you know you'd have a nemesis, like that bastard took like my level whatever sword, right? And then when WoW came along, and really EverQuest didn't have a ton of PvP, but EverQuest was really hardcore in a PvE way, right? Player versus environment. Like when you died, you went into EXP debt that you had to like pay off before you could get back to earning experience. You had to do brutal corpse runs. There were the monsters wouldn't like get like in WoW, if you run so far away from a monster that you've got aggression to, it'll kind of just like snap back and run back to where it spawned, right? Mm-hmm. But in EverQuest, that only happened when you went to the edge of the zone. So you would have people who would be running all the way through the zones with like 70 little monsters chasing them. But the worst part is when they zoned out, they didn't run back to their spawn point. They then looked to see if there were any nearby targets, which at the edges of zones, people were always just zoning in, right?
Yeah.
So basically there were times where you could load into a new zone and then someone was running away from a train of 9 zombies and now you're dead to 9 zombies.
Like, great, thanks.
It was just really brutal in a lot of ways. They didn't have the instant dungeons in EverQuest, right? So instead of going into something where it's you and your 5 buddies get your own copy of this dungeon that you go through, it was like, there's the dragon, and if a guild killed it, then we'll see who gets it tomorrow. 24-hour respawn. Just a lot of stuff that you would not call player-friendly. That is ultimately the difference between the old school MMOs, EverQuest, UO, and like your WoW and your Elder Scrolls Online, right? Just not brutal punishments for failure. Not, I expect you to spend 8 hours on a boss fight.
This is a question for Adam G. Baskell and his brother RJ Baskell. From a brother's perspective, like in the setting of video games, what brought you two together around the screen?
So I would say it's funny. Like
RJ can answer this too.
We didn't necessarily do a lot of like, because like if you were playing, I would go play the computer, or like if I was playing the console, you go play the computer, right? But I remember us playing Halo. That campaign together a lot.
We played a good amount of the original Halo.
Yeah.
I was never super into Halo after that, but we played a lot of Halo 1.
Oh, we beat that campaign on Legendary, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Do you recall that game War Dogs that we got off that shareware CD where you'd both be at the same keyboard?
Oh,
it was like that top-down like dungeon crawling shooter or whatever.
I kind of do. I remember, I know you're talking about that, like 99 games in one, Game-O-Rama.
Yeah.
I don't know if I remember that game exactly though, but I do remember us playing. Wait, yes. It was like the little mercenaries, and you would use like you'd get money per level, and you had to like build your loadout. That game was fucking fun. And you're trying to play both on the exact same keyboard. So you're using like WASDEJK like right next to each other. Oh yeah, I do remember that.
We played that game a good bit when we were younger.
Yeah, that was fun.
Game-O-Rama,
shout out.
Yeah, dude, Game-O-Rama. Those shareware CDs back in the day were awesome. And then I think when we were really young and just getting into games, we played a lot of like Super Mario, like together. We would like trade off or like.
If I recall, you would like someone else could be Luigi. It wouldn't be at the same time, but it would be like alternating. Yeah.
True.
Like every death, you would alternate.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you would
Yeah.
run the level as far as you can and alternate.
Yeah, like our grandmother played Super Mario.
She was not good.
She'd always get to the third level with like all the sand.
Exactly,
then,
she beat the first two
she would
levels.
rage out.
And then
Maybe that's where I get it from.
shoot, I just had Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah.
We were both huge fans of as kids.
Austin, I remember like Austin when he was like 5 years old or something. He was just like messing around with our console and somehow enabled the cheat where you get like the rooster. Do you remember this?
I don't remember this at all. No,
Yeah.
this is a new story for me.
It wasn't even a cheat because like
You just ran over the frog with the rooster hat, right?
but we also got the clock, and that's not part of the normal cheat, I think.
You can definitely unlock the clock with like
did
enough time trial.
Dude, he
wins or
did
something.
something to like mess up the cartridge save.
I have no idea what
It
they're
unlocked everything. We had the clock, we had the
Look,
rooster.
I was 5.
like,
Give me a break.
every race was
I almost want to say it's like when you put in your initials, there was probably one that unlocked some stuff, and I felt like Austin just like managed to guess on total accident, like
One of
DKR or something.
One of my kind of in the same vein of this question though. One of my earliest memories of like playing games was actually sitting. I guess not earliest memories, but I was pretty young, and we were playing the Dota map on Warcraft 3.
Yeah, dude, we like had our laptops in the living room.
In my grandmother's living room. We were all just like sitting there on laptops. It's like the first time I ever played a game on a PC, really. Just sitting there playing.
Were we all three playing that?
Yeah,
I
like
think
like
so,
Defense
yeah.
of the Ancients, the Warcraft 3
I don't
custom
remember
map.
that at all.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Granny's living room at like midnight.
Yeah, I remember that for sure. That was crazy because I never played Warcraft 3 at all. And Adam was like, oh, you should play this Defense of the Ancients thing. I was like, sure, I guess.
I preached that in the Skibby's Castle Tower Defense.
Oh my
mod,
God,
like,
Skibby.
I remember
Castle.
playing the castle defense with you on that.
I was like Mario Party and Tower Defense and the jankiest engine. It was just, it was horrible, but also awesome.
It was great. I'm trying to think, what else did we play a lot of back in the day? Dude, all those Sega CD games.
The Sega CD.
The Dungeon Crawler, what was that?
Dungeon Explorer.
Explorer, there you go.
It was a Gauntless Legends kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun. That dude, the Sega CD was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
It was a physical add-on to your Sega Genesis, which is already a ridiculous statement. And then it was like CDs. It was like, but the whole thing was they didn't want to make a CD console, and then they just said, "Fuck it, we'll also make a CD console, and we'll just attach it to the one we just made."
It was a commercial bust, but it did have
It had some sweet
good
games. Brett and I were just actually talking about Sonic CD last night, which had awesome music and
It
the
was a good
robot Sonic. Yeah, there was a Dungeon Explorer game. I'm trying to think what else we played on that. There was just like a lot of Sega collections, I remember. Because there was like the one disc that had Columns, Golden Axe, Shinobi, Streets of Rage, yada yada.
Yeah, Genesis was great. I actually have a question that I wanted to segue off of what Brett was talking about earlier.
Sure.
Which is, he brought up the little Guitar Hero thing. Basically, barring the Guitar Hero stuff, why is it that Nintendo is pretty much the only innovator in like form factor of controls and like game modes? I mean, I guess you had the Kinect, but beyond that,
and we saw how well that
and
worked.
that's relatively newish. Like,
This is definitely a question for these two because I would just be like, I don't even agree with what you just
yeah,
said.
they've been
So,
doing that for like 30 years since they had the Virtual Boy.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Why?
Virtual Boy and Innovative, let's just
So we shouldn't bring back the Virtual Boy. Got it. It could be because Nintendo is like a strong, innovative gaming company that's there to push the industry forward. What do you think, Austin?
I like that take, Jeff. But I do think I think Nintendo has really kind of found an interesting niche in the market now, in the sense that like they've become the secondary console for people. Because I think like true hardcore gamers, in quotes, right, are going to always have either like a PC, a PS5, or an Xbox, right? They're always going to have the latest like technologically powerful console to play like the newest third-party best games. But Nintendo's really found an interesting spot to try new things and different things with their really strong first-party suite, right? I mean, Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Mario Kart, I mean, all the Mario spin-offs, like Fire Emblem, all the games that Nintendo's put out all have a really like strong like pedigree, so they can take chances and do different things, right? Like I think the Wii was such an interesting idea because everybody else was just, what's the most graphically advanced thing we can do, which is cool. But Nintendo was like, what if we try and cater to a different market? What if we appeal to people who don't play a ton of games? And it worked out really, really well for them.
I to Austin's point, kind of building off of it, one thing Nintendo has always done well is they understand that like, every time they release the specs of the new console coming out, it's never as powerful as their competitors, right? And this isn't by like, oh, we didn't know what we were up against. This is intentional every time, right? And they know that at least with the first party games, they are gonna like those games still run great. They look great. They always feel great, right? They're making their games for the console, and I think they know that their first party is gonna carry them, and they're not worried about like, oh, we have to have like the fastest processor in this, because they're not making, like Stellaris ass games where it has to run 8 hours worth of like these databases that have been building in the background, right? Like they know the types of games they're going to make, and they make them well, right? You don't need the most powerful thing in the world to run Mario Kart. And I think that helps it be cheaper and more affordable, which makes it more accessible, which makes it more widespread. Their types of games are more accessible. So I think it's like I wouldn't even call it like a casual market necessarily, but it's just it's something in between casual and hardcore that they've really nailed, right? It's not mobile gamers and it's not PC gamers, but it's something kind of in between that's just a lot. I mean, the Switch and the Wii have sold an just astronomical amount of units. And a lot of those are people that haven't bought any other consoles in their entire life. And I think that's not an accident, right? They made that happen.
Right. It always lets them try something new. Like they can say, okay, well, we don't have to have the most powerful hardware. So by doing that, we can take the Switch, which you can play in your hands and take it with you on the go, or you can dock it into your TV. And because it's not the most powerful thing in the world,
Japanese people love trains. It's like the perfect train
they do love trains.
device. Like,
who else loves trains? Jeff loves trains.
Trains are awesome, y'all. Basically took a train here.
what else we got?
Yeah. What other questions do y'all have?
Tyler's been itching for
I've been ready to ask. Question for Adam Gerard Baskell, also known as Adam G. Baskell,
He's just going to go through the whole list.
a.k.a. DOMG. Not the whole list. Mr. DOMG, I have a question for you. So, in our own mutual gaming history, we've definitely played some online multiplayer games, which can have favorable or unfavorable outcomes. I think with our history through LOL and Halo, it's fair to say that I've seen some DOMG rage quit.
Oh, yes, without a doubt.
But
maybe more than anyone else. Like,
I've also seen some DOMG Nation where you have dominated in online gameplay. So my question for you is, out of all competitive multiplayer online games, not necessarily online, you can include like Smash as well, that you've played, modern or historical, which game do you wish that you could be like a true god at and like dominate in multiplayer, and that would be the difference maker for you to like want to go back and revisit that game more?
So there was a game that came out in, I guess, like the late 90s, early 2000s, and maybe early 2000s, right? And it was by a studio called Harmless Games, and it was called Infantry Online. And it was this crazy, like, top-down shooter engine. And what was cool about it is you could make all kinds of different maps with it. So the official one had everything from, like, a weird soccer-type game to a like, alien versus marine sort of round-by-round kind of thing, almost like what would looked like natural selection years later. They had something called Chaos and EOL, which was almost like a RPG type map where you would gain experience and unlock all these different classes. And it was actually like James and Chris and Jeff all played this with me in middle school. It was such a cool game. And I've truly to this day never played anything like it. And when that game first blew up, which I mean, in very relative terms, blew up, had 1,000 people playing it in one map or whatever, right? That was so awesome because it was like you would get into these little duels with people sometimes, and it's truly second to second, like palm sweaty, like like dodging behind the cover, doing people, and you're throwing out your little med kit heals, and you're like, oh god, my shields are gone. God, dude, the energy system. It was, I could rant about this game all day. You had like an energy shield, but that meter was also what powered a lot of your stuff, right? So it was like the more of it you had, you would take less damage, but then the less of it you had, it wouldn't protect you from as much damage. And also like that rate could be controlled by, if I put on a force field in which I block some attacks, well, that's going to decrease the rate at which my shield regens, which is also the energy from my plasma pistol. But then I might have slug thrower guns that don't take energy to fire. And there were all these things to balance. And oh, it was so fucking cool, dude. And people would, there was like an engineering class, so people would take over parts of the map and build bases.
It was nuts.
It was, dude, it's truly the coolest game I've ever played in my life. And I wish nothing more than for like, to go back to a time where that was still being played by like hundreds of people, and if I could be good at it too, because I was not. James got to be pretty freaking good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, James is in like a capture the flag league for it now.
Is
There was like a
James
CTF mode.
There's no joke, like, there's maybe 80 people who play a league. You might have, oh, sorry.
I got you.
There's like 80 people who will play in the league,
Yeah.
maybe. And then, like on a Tuesday, a good Tuesday, like 50 or 60 people will log on for a couple hours. I don't know. It's still fun.
It is,
And,
like-
you know, basically the community took it over, wrote their own server, and hacked up the client. And you know, it runs. You can play it, but
Yeah,
it's
and that-
nothing like its heyday.
And that's you know, we were Harry, you were just talking earlier about the Star Wars Galaxy like emulated servers. Like so many of these old games, the player communities are like bringing back online now, and it's really cool. Because the companies are like, well, no one is playing this anymore, so we're dropping it. And it's like, well, now we'll just all, because people want to play it. People just don't want to pay like $15 a month to play Star Wars Galaxy, right? So that's ultimately what it came down to. So all these people are more than willing to play the player hosted versions for free, right?
All it took was a leaked code base.
Yeah. This intellectual property to be illegally released across the internet is all it took.
Man, Infantry, what a throwback game. Chaos and EOL was where boys became men. It was
So true.
ridiculous. Great question, Tyler.
We used to roll around as these things called jump troopers. They were on death boards, correct?
Oh my God, the hoverboards. Yeah.
So they were basically hoverboards where they had this like chainsaw melee thing on the front of
Yeah.
them. And so we would swoop through the streets as people were battling. Because, you would basically spawn and the team maxes, they changed it a lot over the years, but it'd be like 8, 10, 12 people max on a team.
Yeah.
So you'd have 10 teams of 12 roaming
Yeah.
around the map.
Yeah.
And so you'd come across 2 other teams skirmishing and you would just fly through on your death boards. It was so much fun. It was so much fun.
It was just such incredible emergent gameplay, and I genuinely can't think of another title that has done anything like that.
The only other game that gives me a similar feeling of like nothing else is like this would be the first Guild Wars, which
Yeah.
we don't necessarily have to go on another rant about because then this will never end. But
That's a different episode, y'all.
yeah, but to answer Tyler's original question, it would be like if I could be a beast at Infantry or then possibly a beast at Guild Wars, one or the other. Infantry was such an awesome game.
Chris has some input.
I would say also Escape from Tarkov had potential to be one of the best games ever, but just ruins it in every way.
Have you guys played any extraction shooters like that?
I have not.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
What else besides Escape from Tarkov would fall in that category?
There's some like new ones that have tried to come out, but nothing big, right? Maybe it's like Hunt the Showdown. Is that one of them?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Wasn't like there's like a celebrity cameo in that one or something, right?
Oh, I don't know.
I think there was like some reveal of like Keanu Reeves or something was showing up in it. But no, I have not.
Escape from Tarkov is cool because the thing was basically like you spawn in with your, if you're in a team or if you're by yourself, and the idea is that you're trying to gather resources on the map and then reach a like randomized extraction point that's on the edges. That's usually like pretty far away from where you spawn in, and throughout the map are both other players and NPCs that are just trying to kill you. And it's like the only supplies that you bring in are the ones that you get are the ones you bring in, right? And obviously, as a new player, you start with like some stockpiles. But the idea is that like you have to really be taking in or taking out of missions more than you're losing in missions, which we died every freaking attempt. So it would get to a point where it's like, what do I even do? Thank God they would reset the servers like every few weeks or whatever. But yeah, the extraction shooters are a really interesting idea. Tarkov has been ruined by both hackers that the company hasn't done much about and just terrible like monetization schemes and stuff that made people want to stop playing it. But the idea of it is really cool, and I hope someone kind of figures it out. I hope someone creates the WoW of extraction shooters.
What other questions do y'all have?
Or what other questions are in this document?
I mean, we do have a couple other questions that we came up with earlier, if nobody else has anything at the moment. You keep thinking. I have a question that I want to throw out real quick, since this is Adam's bachelor party, right? He's getting married soon. Woo, yeah! I love bachelor party. Adam, we know you love video game romances. Adam is the biggest fan of romance in video games. Outside of the obvious pick of Sonic 06, what is the best video game romance?
What happened in Sonic 06? Is that just Amy and Sonic? Or?
Sonic like kisses some random human girl. There's like
oh my god,
it's really weird, dude. It's really weird. Sonic 06 is a bad game, guys.
Yo, I had no idea.
Yeah, there's like this like really intense love scene where like this girl's like dying in Sonic's arms, and it's like really dramatic, and he like reaches down and like kisses her, and she's like revived. It's like Snow White shit. It's weird.
Hit the point in history where the Sonic fans who were kids when they played that game. The Sonic fans who were kids when they played that game are old enough now where they're going online and say, no, but this is a really good game, though, you guys.
It's not.
That would just be a good question, too. What trash games do I think are good? But, video game romances, that's a weird one because, like, just so many. I mean, it's kind of the same with a lot of TV shows and movies, too, where they just feel like they're there because someone wanted them to be, not because there's really a good reason for them to be. But there are definitely a couple characters in Mass Effect. Not all of the characters in Mass Effect, but a couple of them that you can have some pretty interesting things with. Like, I know, Tally's is super interesting because she talks about just like the existential problem that is she can never come out of her suit. So it's like we can literally never really be together. I'm imprisoned in this suit of my armor, and so it's like. That kind of feeds into the whole idea of like, well, are you going to help her save her planet? Well, now you definitely want to, because that's the only way you're getting it, right? So sometimes there's some really interesting aspects like that. Baldur's Gate had a couple that I think are probably good, but they start off weird. Do you remember, Austin, it's like the first night we slept, the vampire rogue tries to like kill you or like suck your blood in your sleep is what it is. Yeah. And you can basically turn that into like a romance attempt. We killed him because that's unacceptable. But yeah, I'm trying to think of some other good ones. If you guys have any, feel free to jump in. What's the one in Uncharted? There's like two different girls he's into.
Yeah, Chloe and is it Elena in Uncharted? What's your main?
Oh, Elena,
yeah. I think that romance is actually really well done.
Sometimes the love triangles are done really well, right? I thought that was a good one.
I think there's that scene in Uncharted 4 that I think is really, really good. Towards the very beginning, it's like chapter 4, when you're just sitting down on the couch playing Crash Bandicoot with your like wife, and that's super cool. Like you just sit there and you're just like having a nice moment as like a married couple in this game, and you're just playing Crash together, and it's like obviously a little bit of a nod to Naughty Dog, and right they made Crash, so it's like, oh, this little like cute thing. But I think the scene is actually really well done of just like a day in the life of a couple that's like living together and just having fun.
Oh yeah, shout out to Cody and May from It Takes Two.
Yeah. I was gonna say, does It Takes Two count as a video game romance?
Honestly, I don't even know if that's a great romance. That's almost like a troubled one.
That's true.
But it ends in a good place.
It works good for the story. It works well for the story.
It ends in a good place. The Book of Love, really does some good work there.
Dude, speaking of video game romances, so I went to Dragon Con with my girlfriend, her friends, my fiance now, my soon-to-be wife. Gotta get that term. Gotta get used to that.
Work it out.
And we went to one that was like romance and video games panel. And I was like, all right, if it's just weird, I'll just put in my headphones or something. But it didn't really end up being romance in video games so much as it turned out being romance in Mass Effect and Baldur's Gate 3. Those are the only two games talked about. And sometimes it was cool, but there were other people that were saying things that like were so strange to me about how like, yeah, you know, like I really want someone to be like abusive to me, but not like in real life. So I really like being able to get the weird demon guy to just talks about how much, and I was like, whoa, okay, like this is a room full of 40 strangers. This feels like therapy.
we don't need this much about your wife.
So the point I'm trying to make here is there are definitely some people out there that can answer this question a lot better than I could. That's all they play the games for is the romance. So.
Well, Andy said he had one, so
it's Mass Effect. It's the obvious pedestrian choice. Nothing against Liara, she's not pedestrian.
Right.
But just saying that story, I've only ever done male shep, but they just have really good chemistry. And it's like, it's all about like, we're going to love each other even though we might die tomorrow. It's just really, really well executed.
Liara's romance with Finshep is also really good.
Yeah, I believe it.
I mean, it's pretty much the same, I'm sure, but it's good both ways.
BioWare knew what they were doing when they made the Asari. They were like, yeah, they can just mate with anyone, whatever. Like,
so yeah, great.
All right, cool. Well, I think I have one more question I want to ask you, but for this, I want to bring a guest on to the podcast. So, as quick context, this is not the only internet radio show that Adam has done before, and so I want to introduce Harry from the Cyberpunk podcast. Say hello, Harry.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, we had Sharim here earlier too, but unfortunately he had to take off. But
this is a blast from the past.
So my question for y'all is all about artificial intelligence and AI in the world. Harry, I'll let you go first. So is AI going to ruin video games? Are we cooked, boys?
Are we cooked, boys? I'm split on this. Part of me thinks it's going to introduce so much more slop on the very low end, but it's also going to enable like the best creators to up their game even further. Think about games like masterpieces, the Portal series, like Monkey Island, like Myst, all of these things. Like they're very deliberately created, and decisions are made by teams of creative people to introduce mechanics, story, whatever. If they're asking AI to help design levels and to make choices, like these same choices don't get made, and they might not have the same impact on the users. But at the same time, AI, like the obvious answer is AI can help these developers create these things faster. It doesn't take 2 years to develop the technology that was needed for Portal to work or something like that, right? So that's kind of where I am. It's like, if you're using AI to help write your story or design your levels, you're probably in for a bad time. But if you're using it to help create solve technical challenges, it might be a good thing.
Well, first off, thank you, Harry. This feels like old times. It's cool. I feel like I'm in the UGA recording booth again. But like exactly what you're saying. There's so many situations where it's like, yeah, if some of these companies think like I'm gonna be able to replace a team of 30 people with one guy in AI. That's gonna make a shitty game. Like I think most people realize that. But what about 30 people who can use AI to benefit themselves? Like that could be a pretty cool idea, right? Because like you're saying, a true creative is gonna know, I don't really want to like draw all these trees anyway. Like so the AI can help me do things like that. Whereas I'm really making sure that the pieces it's giving me make a human told story and a human crafted level, right? Especially like I'm a big fan of level design in games. I love games with really cool level design. It's why I thought the newest Halo's campaign was crap, because it's just like open world, blah, whereas like Combat Evolved is just such great levels, right? It really is. But yeah, and I don't think an AI is ever going to figure out how to make level design. I say ever, maybe eventually, but not in my lifetime. Are they going to make levels as compelling as like a human would?
Sure. Humans, we intrinsically know what is interesting. We know what is difficult and what puzzles are like satisfying to solve. An AI won't, Yeah.
An AI can't draw a full glass of wine yet, That's right. Every time you ask ChatGPT, no, like to the brim. It gives you a half full glass of wine. It's like, here, I drew it to the brim. Let me know if you have any more questions.
It is drawing hands with 5 fingers now, though. Finally,
it's gotten a lot better at the end.
I'd say it definitely feels like there is a rapid increase in the ability of AI to do things that at one time we're like, oh, it won't be able to do that. Oh, look at the art it draws. It looks garbage. And now it's like steadily getting a lot better. And do you think there's a concern for, kind of like what Adam was saying earlier, right? AI eventually replacing these teams and then actually also making the good games. So like is that coming?
There is a downside. So, for instance, like Becca, my soon-to-be wife, she likes to do this thing where she has this iPad app where it's like it gives you a black and white picture and then you can kind of color it in with these things. And she's been using this for years. And when she first started using it, it was things that either they hired people to draw or maybe they were user submitted, but they were all human-created images. Now there's a little symbol in the corner that appears to say, like, this is an AI-generated image. And I've noticed that over the last 6 months, it's more and more and more of them. But she hates them. She always scrolls right past the ones because it'll be like a girl that's crossing her arms and you just see another hand, like a third hand, right?
Right.
It's otherwise looks good, but that kind of stuff always crops up. So I think there's eventually going to be kind of like a backlash to this. I mean, you already see this on like online forums, people talking about like, oh, your game uses Gen AI, I'm not interested, which is maybe in some ways kind of unfair because like you said, there are good ways to use that. But I think you're already starting to see a bit of a backlash against these companies trying to do that. We'll see if people vote with their wallet and it actually matters. But you do see the sentiment there that people don't necessarily want a computer to do every aspect of their, creative enterprise that they're consuming, right? Yeah.
There is something inherently better about the human touch to a creative media, for sure.
And I think that's sort of the key is that I don't think consumers want AI to be part of the artistic process, but they probably don't care how much C# code Copilot wrote for the developer, right? So that's probably what.
I mean, it would be no different than just like going look on Stack Overflow or whatever to find like, oh, code. Like now you just have the AI doing it for you instead of looking it up.
To some people, AI is just like ChatGPT and the drawings, right? But it's like, it truly is way more than that. But that's what so many people. That's what their experience with it is. Crypto bro level. This is the future, man.
Right.
So, Harry, is AI developed video games more of a fad that's going to kind of just get integrated into the development cycle, or is it a race to the bottom with the slop?
I mean, as I don't develop games, but I do develop other software, and AI isn't just being introduced, it's like being heralded as a useful tool. So I know that these guys on the back end of game development, they're being told to use it because it speeds them up and it makes their lives easier, and it lets code be more probably cohesive across the entire like development process. So I definitely think it's here to stay as far as the things that it does well. But as far as like someone typing into ChatGPT, make a Flappy Bird clone, right? Those things aren't going to last, and they might show up on the Steam store one day, but they're just going to get lost.
17,000 games a year show up on the Steam store.
Exactly.
And I'm not exaggerating that number. I will never forget it.
So I'm not worried about AI taking over for really talented game developers and artists and storytellers.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. It's kind of what I was saying before. It's just there's going to be certain parts of games that you can't fake with a computer, right? It's the parts that make you cry. It's the parts that make you laugh. Like, I mean, you can laugh at AI generated stuff, but not because it's actually funny, but because it's like
not for the right reasons.
Yeah, exactly. So the parts that I think ultimately. The things we think about with the characters in Mass Effect, the romances, the heartfelt moments, the suicide missions, those are just never going to be told in a compelling way with AI, right? So I think Harry's onto it when it's like, these developers are going to be told to use it, and they will, but it's not going to be in the sense of like, write the ending to my game, It's help me come up with a framework or help me come up with art or these kind of periphery things that will help speed up development, but you're just never going to be able to sell. Well, I say that, but there's some crappy mobile games people spend tons of money on. So you're never gonna have something with wide appeal that people buy into, like full price. But I can maybe see like mobile games and crap like that,
Yeah,
being like 90% AI slop. But who cares? I think, me and Jeff talk about this all the time. This is the best time to be a gamer, really. Like, you have to do a little bit of digging around through the garbage bin to find the treasure, but the good stuff is better than it's ever been, I think. And more accessible and cheaper.
That's what I was about to say. There's so many ways to play so many things. I mean, you look at things like Game Pass or, PlayStation's equivalent. Like, we can argue about ownership and owning games versus subscribing to a service or whatever, but the sheer dollar value that something like a Game Pass gives you, like, it's incredible. And that wasn't happening 10, 15 years ago.
And I think that's particularly why the games that are just single player without a bunch of microtransaction bullshit feel like such a good value now, because that is truly like the equivalent of paying like $200 for an SNES game, like with inflation and everything, right?
Right.
Paying $60 and getting a really good single player game feels like the best fucking entertainment value.
With the same production values as a feature film.
Yeah, it's like Spider-Man 2, which I still liked. I think the first Spider-Man game better. The Marvels one on PlayStation, but that was a great game for $60. Like 20, 25 hours, felt fucking fantastic, and there wasn't any, buy extra ammo with your spider bucks or anything,
Spider bucks.
Or like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, like that is literally the 6th entry in the Indiana Jones saga to me.
That's a great game.
Right.
Cool. Well, Harry, I'm going to give you the final thought. Are you bullish on AI?
Honestly, I am. It'll only get better, and I know, like, we sort of have to be cautious and be good stewards, but I think it'll only help creative, well-meaning people develop even better products.
Well, thanks so much for being our special guest today, Harry. Shout out to Cyberpunk.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys. I love the show.
All right.
Hold on, looks like Connor does have a question.
Oh.
He's come up with his question.
Bringing it back to Connor. Connor, what's your question?
Okay, so this is more a question for Adam and Austin.
Okay.
So, me and Austin been knowing each other for 18 years?
Yeah, like a long time.
Yes, and I guess through most of that we played games.
Yep.
Okay, and me and Adam been knowing each other for about 7 years?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like a little bit before COVID.
We basically met by playing games over the internet with Austin. Yeah.
Yes. And what would what are some of your favorite gaming moments with me?
Connor's like, we're gonna make this about me right
Connor,
now.
highlight reel.
It could be just like me, you, or me.
Yeah, no. I like it.
As a group. Yeah.
So frankly, Connor, you are a very unorthodox person to play games with. It's like every game we play, Connor decides what his own goals are at random. So we're playing Project Zomboid, and the goal of the game is try to build up a little, you kind of it's a zombie apocalypse, right? So we're gathering materials, and we've deconstructed the stairs in this house and built rope ladders out of sheets and curtains. And I'm like, how long can we last? And Connor's like, how many zombies can I kill with my bare hands? That's his new goal. And of course, the answer is 0, and we lose horribly. We play Helldivers, and we're like, how many people can we blow up while minimizing casualties? And Connor's just, how many people can I blow up?
In Connor's defense, that's how that game should be played.
And but really, Connor, taking that into account, Warzone. When we first started playing Warzone during COVID, this dude would find the most creative ways to do stuff. So there was this one little bunker when you'd first spawn that if you could get in and get down in there, there was some really good weapons that spawned, right? So it was naturally a really popular place for people to spawn. So everyone parachutes in and they drop there. So Connor gets C4 and he gets on a little ATV and he hops on the back of it, and Austin's driving, and they wait for the first group to go into the bunker. And then they drive in after them, and he takes the ATV down 3 sets of stairs, crashes into the vault, and then detonates the C4 and gets a triple kill. And we just loot all of their shit and leave with it. And it was truly one of the greatest gaming experiences I've ever had, because it was just such creative uses of the game mechanics and of understanding how the game worked. And sometimes when Connor plays games with, we're like, this dude doesn't understand how the game works, right? And in that moment, it was just masterful.
Connor understands the game better than anybody else.
On a level no one has ever seen.
He is fourth dimensional. I loved playing Warzone because like on the opposite end of that spectrum, kind of like it'd be me, you, my friend Jovan, and Connor. We'd have our squad of 4, and like me, you, and Jovan were like, all right, we're gonna go this way. We're gonna like take out this group. We're gonna hide in this building. Like everything's meticulously planned out. And we're like, where's Connor? And he's like off in some other building across the map, like dying. And it's like, what's happening?
So y'all are ready to move out? I'm like 1, 2, wait, and then Connor just says like 400 meters, and he's just like up a tower, and he's parachuting across, and it's like, you know what? We'll just play this as a 3-man. That's fine.
But at the same time, right? Connor would always come up with he'd always like pull out a sniper rifle and just like take a shot that nobody would possibly think like there's no way he's ever gonna get this shot, and then you just line it up and like down a dude from like thousands of meters away, and it's like, how did this even happen?
Someone's like, I think I saw a pixel move on the horizon, and then she's like, headshot, kill.
It's Warzone. Warzone is definitely some of the like prime COVID Warzone is definitely some of the peak multiplayer gaming experience I've ever had.
And I get so mad at competitive multiplayer games, but Warzone was such a blast. Like, great question, man. Nice walk down memory lane.
Yeah, I definitely like that time me and you, Adam, played TikTok.
I was gonna say it's like that weird puzzle game.
Yeah.
Where so basically what I'm seeing on my screen is different what he's seeing on his screen.
Okay.
But we have to communicate what we're seeing in order to solve these puzzles.
Oh, that's Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, which is fantastic.
So I'm sure it's like a similar idea, right? But this was just a 2-player thing, and it's like this kind of weird, trippy puzzle adventure. That was a lot of fun. Yeah,
it was cool.
Like there's one where it's just like we're both at a train station, and we notice that the clocks on the wall have like slightly different times, and we end up having to like go into some train manager's office and like change the clock to the other person. I mean, just cool stuff like that. That was a really fun game.
I remember we played that like escape room game together for a little while. That was a pretty fun like puzzle time. We didn't end up playing a ton of that, but it was definitely a fun idea.
Andy, this thing's idled out. I assume it's still good.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Although we're probably about to wrap up.
I think that's probably our last question.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, I'm gonna.
Thank you, Connor.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Any final questions?
What's up, James?
All right, James, hit us with the last question. Let's go. It's only appropriate.
Has anyone followed up on Valheim since we played it for like a month?
Oh man, that was the other big thing we did over COVID.
Yes, we played so much Valheim.
I haven't. I think I still have the server file somewhere, so we could boot it up. That was such a fun game, man.
That was so great for like the 30 hours or 40 hours that we put into it, and then like it just literally fell off a cliff.
Like,
we just
like
never
any
touched
other
it.
survival crafter game, you do get to a point where you're like, the next thing it wants me to do is more work than I'm willing to put in. But man, up to that point, God, that was great.
Yeah, we played a couple of survival crafting. We need to go back to a loft. I think that was some fun times.
A loft is one where it's a bunch of sky islands, and you have this glider, and that in itself is a lot of fun to fly around. But the main thing is that you can put sails and rudders and steering wheels like on islands and turn that into your ship and fly that around, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I like those survival crafting games. But no, to answer your question, I haven't actually booted it back up, but maybe we should. I think I still have the file somewhere. I made a backup on Google Drive. Hopefully. Because I have fried my hard drive like twice since then. So I'm hoping I made a backup. Well, that about wraps up our episode live from Blueridge, Georgia.
You can find this episode, as well as all of our previous episodes, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcasting platform.
And you can find us on YouTube and Blue Sky at the Games Gone By podcast.
Signing off for Games Gone By, I'm Adam.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Jeff. Congratulations, Adam. We're all so happy for you. Thanks for listening, y'all. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody. That was awesome.
I like the live episode. That was a great. Congratulations on your first episode.
Towards the end, I was like, the best game is going to be accessible now. But James is fucking snoring on the